beautiful women. My gosh, it feels like forever since I've jumped in here. Oh, it's really interesting. Before I jumped in here, I was sitting here and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing all these feels moving through me. And I was like, what is this? What is this? Oh, ladies, if you are jumping in here, if you're watching the replay, I'd love for you to say hello. I've missed you. There's been lots going on. Lots going on. And I just wanted to jump in here today and share a little bit of something on relationships, intimacy, and embodiment. And there is still a lot more to come, but one of the things that I am hearing a lot of lately is very largely based around these topics. And so I wanted to share some pieces. And first and foremost, I wanted to share something that also relates to this. And that is that I have moved to Sydney. Yay! There's been so much happening. Just to give you a quick overview of my experience over the past week. Basically, I was pulled to move to Sydney. I'm now here and I have finally landed in a beautiful home, in my own home, right? I haven't had my own like physical home that I've rented in since 2016. Like that I have felt, you know, I'm exchanging this money and it's I have stayed at certain places, but I have not been on a lease, or I haven't been paying rent to like a real estate since 2016, right? And it got me thinking, because our home is deeply connected to our root chakra, which is deeply connected to our sense of safety and survival and our sense of belonging. And it really allowed me to witness just how much work I have done with myself internally to still be able to hold myself throughout the process, irrespective of the fact that I haven't had an external home. So when it comes to safety, when it comes to a home, let's go with home. When you think of a home, what do you feel? Like, not a house, a home. If you're watching the replay, if you're watching this, I'd love for you to drop it in the comments. I know for me, I feel like safe. My energies feel like I belong, right? I feel a sense of belonging. I feel like I can come home to that space and just completely and entirely be all of myself. All of me is welcome. Yeah, and there's a sense of safety that's needed for that, right? So that's on the physical scale. But what can happen is we're not just physical human beings. We're emotional, we're mental, we're vibrational and energetic and all the other beautiful things. And we need to cultivate that in all these other areas as well, right? We can cultivate it. It doesn't have to be in all of the areas, but it really allowed me to witness that even though I didn't have one of those areas, I had done a really, really amazing job at cultivating a lot of those other areas so that I could still feel that way within my own body, within my own self. And I wanted to start off with this because this shows up a lot in relationships. Right? And I want to just quickly share my experience around my last relationship. A lot of you know I was in a relationship for about 4 years, which probably should have been about 4 months, but it really took a long time for me to kind of exit out of it. And hello, beautiful. Yes, it definitely is a long time that I have been not having a home. And when it comes to relationships, I noticed that when I was with my ex-partner, I felt when I was around him this sense of home, like he felt like home to me, right? And now looking back, and that was just one of the very, very many things, but now looking back, it allowed me to witness just how I didn't have this within myself. He was such a catalyst for bringing forward everything that I needed to look at within myself, right? So when I was with him, I felt like he was my home. I felt at home with him. I felt safe with him. I felt all the juicy bits and pieces, right? I felt all these things, but it only lasted so long. And I came to realize that the reason why I found it so hard for me to exit the relationship was because he represented love, right? I thought I was in love. Don't get me wrong, I loved him. Now I have come to really experience love in what I believe is its like truest, most integral form that I have ever experienced. But I realized looking back that I actually didn't know what love was. My experience of love was tainted by what I had witnessed growing up, by what I'd been told growing up, by what I'd been told it should look like, or it should feel like, or it should be like. And that was just perpetuating my sense of unsafety within my own body, my sense of distrust in myself, my sense of not belonging. So I was projecting all of these things onto my partner, right? I was expecting him to provide me with all of these things, and that's never, ever going to work. And this is what I've realized is our past, our old identity of what we've been taught has literally almost created this identity of your partner is the one that's supposed to provide you with all of these things. Your partner will provide you with safety, with trust, with protection, with even when we first met, there was this like chemistry there. And no, like that is really a sign of the fact that our woundings attracting each other. And so there were all these different bits and pieces. But what I wanted to share today was I'm hearing a lot around how, first and foremost, it's hard to relieve, like a lot of women are finding it challenging to leave their relationship. And I wanted to say that if this is you, then yes, absolutely, because we've been taught the model of love looks like our wounding, essentially. So the reason why it's so hard is because we're literally, one of the things that I felt when I left my ex-partner was I literally explained it as if someone was ripping out the root of my body. And now looking back, I can see that someone actually was. I was ripping out the root of my body because this was the root chakra identity that I had been taught. You know, our root chakra is safety, survival, protection, belonging. And this is what I was ripping out. So by me choosing not to be in the relationship with him, I was essentially choosing not to be that identity of what I'd been taught growing up. So this is why it can seem so challenging to say goodbye. So that's, if you're experiencing that, then yes, absolutely. Just know that that's going to potentially be present because it's an identity piece. And it's not actually that you're saying goodbye to the person. It's actually that you're letting go of that huge part within yourself that you have all your life identified with. And there's a lot, right? However old you are, you're saying goodbye to that. The other thing that I wanted to touch on in terms of relationships is this experience of almost attracting a relationship. So wanting to be in a relationship or wanting to embody our sovereignty to then call in our, you can call it a king, you can call it a soulmate, you can call it your your union, whatever it is that you want to call it, that very, very person that all your life exists. And that one person, and I want to say to you now, if you're watching this, what you feel on your heart, what you know in your bones to be true, and I want you to feel back to times when you were younger and you were like, no, I shouldn't have to settle for that. No, I shouldn't have to show up in that way. I shouldn't have to deal with that. I shouldn't have to, all these bits and pieces. Or this is what I deeply desire from a partner. This is what I know in my heart exists from a partner. I want you to really feel back into that. And for some of you, it may be a little bit challenging. I know for myself, I didn't realize I actually had forgotten about my deep, deep, deep heart's desires because I'd literally almost shut myself off from them for so long. And it wasn't until this person came into my life that I remember sitting on my kitchen floor texting him. And I literally said to him, you are everything that I have ever imagined was possible for me. I have waited my whole life for you. I remember as a little girl having this ache on my heart for this, what I knew was available, this relationship, this man, this energetics. And I attracted him, right? And so what I want to say around this is what I'm seeing, and also what I experienced as well with myself, is I went through this series of blame, right? Blaming the other person, or blaming men, or blaming, it was all blame. If I was to meet up with a man or they didn't text me back, I'd be blaming them for not messaging me back when they said they would, or blaming, there was just this blame, right? This undercurrent of blame. And this is also what I have seen in, women that I'm currently working with, women who are around me. It's almost like this blame around men not showing up in the way that they should or that they could. Maybe there's not the right men out there. Maybe he doesn't understand you the way that you want him to or her to. There's just this blame. And what I want to say around this blame is when we blame another person, the undercurrent of energetics is actually victim. Basically, it is literally handing over our power to the other person, saying, you are responsible, you should be responsible for how I feel. And no one can ever be responsible for the way in which we feel. And so to give you an example of this, when it comes to certain situations, one that I heard today was, a woman speaking to her partner about her not feeling special, he didn't make her feel special. And what I felt behind it, this undercurrent behind it, was this it's your job to make me feel special. And so I want to share this because there is such a re-education that we are almost needing as a society around relationship, because in the past we've been taught this model of relationship, partner first, relationship, and then us. But actually how it goes, and also if you've got kids, right, it'll go kids, partner, us. But actually how it needs to go is us, the self-sovereignty of who we be and who we are, and that includes our responsibility of our own feelings and how we feel in certain situations. If we're triggered, if we don't like something, if something, feels a little off in our body, it is our responsibility to be with that, to either look at the trigger, hold space for ourselves to process it. And if we can't hold space for ourselves to process it, asking another person to hold space, not the person who's triggered us, to hold space for us. Could be the person if you've got that kind of relationship, but there needs to be a lot of work that's needing to be done for that. And then allowing ourselves to feel that, and then after we feel that, we can have the clarity outside of that, right? We let that trigger out of our body, and then we can gain the clarity within the situation to then go to our partner with an energy that says, this is how it is. Rather, we are going to our partner with an energy that says, this is how it is because you didn't do X, Y, Z. Or this is how it is because I'm shut down and I'm putting up a protective barrier, and this is just how it is. So what then happens is, when we put up that protective barrier and we come from this space that feels shut down, our partner can't feel us. And that's exactly what they're going to mirror back to us. And what that blame then also breeds is anger and resentment. And then that projects out onto our partner, and that eventually breeds disconnection. But what that anger and resentment actually is us getting angry at ourselves and getting resentful towards ourselves, towards our sovereign self. It's like our sovereign self going like, can you fucking listen to us? Like, stop trying to make the other person responsible for the way that we feel. Like, listen to us, allow us to sort it out. And then when we do that, it actually creates a connection inside. But what's actually happening is, because we're not doing that, our sovereign self internally is getting angry at us. And the more we don't go inside and resolve it internally, let me know if this is landing for people, by the way, the more we don't resolve that internally, the more disconnect we actually create in ourselves. So whatever is showing up in our relationships is actually because we're holding it in ourselves. And this is an embodiment piece, right? So it actually requires a level of intimacy, and this is any relationship. This isn't just a sexually active relationship. It is friendships. It is relationships at work. You know, it requires us to be intimate with ourselves, to come back into ourselves, to be with what's in there, acknowledge it. And then as we do that, it starts to release, and we can then embody what's actually sitting there. But if we don't do that, we're just simply embodying all of those triggers and all of that wounding continuously, and then expecting our partner to actually deal with it, or to create safety for us, or to create trust for us. And I share this out of pure experience, because the guy that I attracted is actually very, very, very dark masculine energy, which triggered me initially first anyway. And I remember speaking to my friends about him, and they were like, oh, he's so arrogant. He's who is this guy? Like, total trigger. Like, and yet there was something there that I just, something in me that I had to trust, right? When I dropped below the trigger, there was something in me that in my body that allowed me to be in an openness to trust. And that was also because I'd cultivated a level of trust within myself. And so I share this because in order for us to show up in a relationship in the way that we deeply know is available to us, in order for us to attract the relationship that we know is out there, or anything in our life, anything. And I know that as women, A lot of us have feminine cores, and if you've got a feminine core, which by the way, I'm probably sure that you do, all you actually want to do is have a man receive the fullness of your love. Like to sit with your man or your woman, to sit with your partner, have them fully see you, and have you just obliterate yourself in this openness of total rapture of love, and share that with them. Like, we just have so much love. So much love. And we are trying to give it out in any which way that we can, because that's what we've been taught. But actually, we get to return it to ourselves. And when we do this, it literally, and when we commit to doing this, it literally cultivates a sovereignty within ourselves. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's the easiest path. It's definitely not easy. The action and the practice of it isn't easy. But the more we do it, the easier it starts to get, right? We start to find a level of comfortability with the vulnerability, comfortability with the fact that, someone could walk away from us, that we love, and we're totally sovereign. Like we know that we're okay and it's all going to be okay, but not from a protected place, from a ouch, like I don't actually want you to leave. My heart hurts, but we know that we're going to be okay because we know how to hold ourselves, but we're also not scared to open to that level of vulnerability. So I just wanted to share these parts and share these pieces, and if it has landed for you, or if you've watched the replay, please let me know. I feel like what's happening, this is a foundational piece, right? We all know that this year is a foundational year, and it literally is creating the foundations within ourselves that we are being called to, in order to have the things that are waiting for us. It's all waiting. And I'm being shown that more and more and more and more for myself, things that I thought were impossible I'm living magic right now. I said to my girlfriends the other day, I was like, oh my God, I just so believe in magic. It's just amazing. And it just keeps getting better and better. And it wasn't easy in the beginning, trusting in spirit and trusting in where I was being led, and saying yes to the vulnerability of that. And yet it's all available if we allow ourselves to be in that, if we allow ourselves to say yes to that. But we have to do it for ourselves. All right, my darlings. Let me know what landed for you. Let me know, tell me your feedback. I miss you all. Please let me know any questions that you have as well. I know there is so much to this that I could say that we can pop in. I'm going to be sharing more around this because I just feel like it, women are ready. We're ready. We're aching for it. We're aching. Our bones are aching for it, but we've got to do the work, right? We're so close, but we've got to do the work. All right, my darlings, I love you all, and I will be back in very, very soon. It's so beautiful to see you all, and thank you for joining me, Kim and Maria. Lots of love.